kids' lunchroom to roaming food trucks and fine dining establishments. Lubbock health inspectors checked out the cleanliness of nearly 75 food establishments this week.
KCBD News Channel 11's Christy Harton dishes out what they found in this week's edition of Food for Thought. Christy?
Karen and Abner, last week we showed you what it takes to get a perfect score and just how hard it is to be a top performer. But this week we have 8 locations that did just that. Plus, we have 2 stops that landed at the bottom of the list. We start with those violations. Farmhouse at 11804 Indiana Avenue had 22 violations. Cooked pork was not at least 135 degrees. The inspector notes it was placed in a roaster that was not turned on. An open package of cooked sausage patties was in a container of loose blue cheese. Raw bacon was stored above ready-to-eat milk. Bread was stored in direct contact with wire shelving. There was a buildup of debris on the surface of the meat slicer. Several plates and bowls on the storage rack had food residue. A tray in the walk-in cooler had food residue. Employees did not wash their hands after handling raw eggs and then handling ready-to-eat foods. A bottle of pain reliever was stored over the food prep table. Containers of soap were stored above the meat slicer. The dishwasher was not sanitizing. The tip of a knife was broken. All equipment and utensils should be in good repair. There's a small gap between the back door and door frame. All windows and doors must close completely to protect against the entry of pests. Wiping cloths were stored on a shelf in between uses. A bag of onions was on the floor in the walk-in cooler. A scoop handle was buried in the container of blue cheese. Utensils were stacked in a way that did not allow them to dry. A bulk bin of white powder was not labeled. There's food residue and debris on non-food contact surfaces in the reach-in cooler. The inspector notes there was excessive buildup of food debris and residue on the floor under equipment. A purse was stored above a meat slicer and soda syrups. The inspector notes due to the number and the nature of the violations, management did not show proper food safety knowledge. Management tells us all violations have been corrected. The report shows that as well. Aranda's Taqueria at 4134th had 17 violations. Raw eggs were held at 60 degrees. They must be kept at 45 degrees or below. The facility was selling packaged, ready-to-eat mango and chili without approval. Boxes of raw bacon were stored above a container of rice and ready-to-eat foods. An employee was touching cooked tortillas with their bare hands. Glass cleaner was stored next to a box of straws. Multiple items in a walk-in cooler did not have protective covers. Cups at a drink station were stored with food contact surfaces exposed. The back hand sink was not working. Wooden storage shelves were no longer smooth, non-absorbent, and easy to clean. Floors under the wet prep table had stagnant gray water. Areas of the cook line, including the equipment, floors, and walls, were severely soiled with debris, food, and grease residue. Vent hoods were heavily soiled with grease accumulation, and inspectors observed dripping from the hood. The ceiling above the cold hold and tortilla prep table were soiled with heavy dust accumulation. The men's restroom did not have a hand washing sign. The inspector notes the person in charge did not demonstrate knowledge of foodborne disease prevention, and the facility did not provide food handler permits for employees. The report shows several of the violations were corrected at the time of the inspection, but the inspector notes many of the violations were out of compliance, including areas that needed to be clean. Management tells us everything has since been corrected. Now to this week's top performers. Amici's Wine Bar at 11824 Indiana Avenue. Baked Candy and Horchata de Coco Pinky inside the National Flea Market at 1808 Clovis Road. The breakfast area inside the Hilton Garden Inn at 6027 45th. And Tropical Icy at 1701 East Broadway. There were also several food trucks at the top. G-Clan Smoked Barbecue, Hank's Barbecue, and Lemon in Paradise. There were also multiple schools on the list this week. You can check those out online along with all the other inspection results. Just head over to kcbd.com. Karen and Abner, back to you.
Thank you, Christy.